Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally, and you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks.
Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Finally Clicked, podcast on leadership and self-development in a professional landscape from our black microphones to your eardrums. I am Jesse Moore, co-host of said show, sitting here with my friend, my assistant, Margaret McCauley Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
It's such a great radio voice. La 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 la. How you doing, Margaret?
It's been a heck of a week, I feel like.
I know, right?
Business and personal, not bad, just a lot happening. I mean, between the coronavirus of 2020 falling into the laps of Seattle folk, we've got that. We've got professionally, we've got interviews going on for the team. We've got a lot happening. And so it's been an active, like you and I have both been, I feel like, running from home to here a lot this week, I feel like, more than usual.
And I imagine a good share of listeners are in the Puget Sound area.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that aren't, like, it's been bizarre.
I just had my friend Jen reach out from Montana to ask me what's truth, what's not. Can you please key me in? Because from the outside looking in, she's wondering if everyone in Seattle is looking for toilet paper.
Grocery stores and Costco's are all out of toilet paper, which is like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a bad prepper. Like, I would not have gone, you know what, is probably going to run out toilet paper.
I'm really worried about my bathroom.
Yeah.
And my tush.
It's so surprising to me. It's so bizarre.
Somebody likened it, I think maybe you did, to that one of a Seattle snowstorm. When snow's coming, the Seattleites run to the store and they get supplies for weeks. And it usually lasts 3 to 5 days max.
I know, but, and then I wonder, okay, like, think about these stores, right? They're like, probably weren't prepared for this. And then, we're out of toilet paper.
Yeah.
When can we get more? Okay. And then at some point, people are going to realize, wow, I have like a year's supply of toilet paper at home. I don't need to buy toilet paper for a long time.
Long time.
So all I'm thinking about is the documentary 10 years from now where they do a deep dive into the toilet paper shortage of 2020.
Yeah. And then certain businesses
and how it affected Charmin,
right?
And all these.
Andy said one of the local admin here came in. She said, I'm going to start a battle against the coronavirus because my coffee shop's shut down. There's no business for them.
No, it is legit. Like, people are, like, Pike's Market is empty.
Yeah.
People are
and you
afraid.
said REI shut down.
REI closed their stores because they don't expect to have clients. It's so funny. I took Jill to a restaurant last night, and I'm thinking, oh, good, coronavirus special, right? Like, yeah. I should be able to just go right in there. It was packed house.
Wow.
So it's funny. It still feels like, people, I don't know. I see plenty of people out, but then it's weird. You'll be like, the traffic's not really that a big problem right now. People are staying at home.
Yeah.
The schools where our office is located, that school district has closed the school for 14 days, like closed. Mm-hmm. And, Jill works in the health services industry. Mm-hmm. And so I hear about it all day long at work, and then I go home and I hear about it. And that's when I get educated on it.
Yeah.
But it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was asking Jill today, I was like, okay, so there was a reported case at Everett Community College. Mm-hmm. So they shut it down, right? And I'm like, we can't stop this thing. Mm-mm. Like, I understand we should do what we can, but we can't stop it. Mm-hmm. And it just makes me, I heard, I was talking to firefighter medic last night, and he had heard that they said this could last 8 months. This like type of scare
Activity.
or an activity. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Americans, our attention span is about 30 seconds. Once we realize that 2 weeks from now, we're going to wake up and we're going to, oh, I'm still alive, and everyone I know is still alive for the most part. But I don't have to worry. Like,
Yeah.
I can resume my normal life.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it. How do you dispense a message like this from the state level down to the people without, one, causing too much panic, and two, ensuring that people do take the necessary precautions? But then I'm like, it's like regular hygiene. Like, people should be washing their hands for 20 seconds anyways. So it's hard without, you want to get the message out there so people understand the details and the facts, but then you have this group of people that are fear-based and OCD, and so they're jumping into a panic, which then people begin to wonder on the outside of that circle, should they panic or not? So, but in general, what I've discovered, what I've learned from people that I know that are in the healthcare system is that people are going to get this no matter what. And it's the natural evolution of how diseases are spread.
Most of us have had
Most people have had it, yeah.
Of some form, right?
Yeah.
Just not this strain.
Yeah.
And we had our ISA, Amanda, called someone yesterday, and it was the first time we had an objection.
With the coronavirus?
With the coronavirus.
Shut up,
where
really?
he's like basically saying, well, I'm going to wait until this coronavirus before he buys a house. And I'm like, well, now's the best time to buy a house.
Now's the best time to buy.
Right? Like, rates are down because of the coronavirus. So take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know, Corona special.
We should start.
No, we can't call it
advertising
Corona
that.
special. Did you see this? Cracked me up. Corona Beer Company said they would pay $10 million to change the name of the coronavirus. $15 million if they would call it the Bud Light virus.
Wow, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
Because I think you're the one that told me that their stock went down or their sales went down.
Sales went down big
How
time
stupid.
because people thought they were getting the virus from the beer.
So ridiculous. Yeah. It's people with compromised immune systems that need to worry, like my mom having cancer. Compromised immune system, she can't fight it as easily. That makes sense. If you're a healthy human being, just like with anything else, who wants to get the flu? Nobody I know wants to get the flu. So, yeah, it's like, so I think now it's like most of our energy from the government level is being spent on educating people, per usual. So,
Per usual.
yeah, here we are. Apparently, we could call this episode from the epicenter of the coronavirus.
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Washington, like literally, Jen, my friend Jen Girl from Montana, said the kids in school are about to go on spring break, and they're specifically sending out letters to the parents saying, we know it's really popular for kids from Montana to go to Washington or California. We're really concerned about both of these states. So if your child goes to either one of those states on spring break, here's a 20-step list that they have to go through, checklist when you come back before you enter the school building.
Pressure wash them.
Just
I'm from Montana. I can say this. Everybody like, okay, you better hook that up to the hot water. Put it on high. Back up Jimmy to that diamond plate wall. Okay, blast him. All right, get his toes. Get him between toes. All right, I think we got it. You should be good. All right, Susie, get up here. Susie's like pulling on your hand like, no, Daddy, I don't want to go. And Susie, it's for everybody. School said it. 20-point checklist. Gotta pressure wash this off of you.
oh God.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. There's something that so Jill tells me yesterday. You know when you go to a hospital and they have, or like a walk-in clinic or something, and they have like a mask dispenser in case you have a cough or a respiratory illness that you can put on a mask before you check in and do everything. People are coming in and stealing them. Like, they're stealing masks out of the dispensers.
Freaking kidding me?
Well, and it's if they educated themselves, the masks don't help. Like, it doesn't help. That's not what they're worried about. They're worried about touch. And so you have all these people that are just like, it's just so, it's so interesting to see paranoia
interesting to watch,
at this level.
Yeah. Well, what it says to me is, like, we often talk about fear in business. Fear in life in general is really a motivator for so many people in the wrong way. Like, they're totally run by fear. They're getting up and out of their houses. Maybe they haven't been up and out of their house in months, and they're up and out of their house buying toilet paper and water because.
See, I'm not motivated by fear. I'm realizing, like, I don't do anything because I'm afraid of. If I was motivated by fear, I'd go to the doctor more often. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm afraid I have this. I better go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. I agree.
Right. Now the trick is we have to figure out how to sell more houses during this
season. Yeah. Yeah.
This house comes with a private ventilation system.
You'll get wiped down as you enter this open house.
This entrance is equipped with a steam shower that kills all germs instantly. And then walk into this UV bath.
I went to the dentist 2 days ago, and the lady who was like looking at my teeth, and we were just laughing the entire time because she's like, "Did you hear tickets to Hawaii are on for $100?" I looked at her, I was like, "You just changed my life." I might go home and just buy a couple.
Didn't you check the prices?
I did because I saw someone post on it. Our friend Anna down in Federal Way, she bought round trip for $250 total for her and her husband for next week. They're going.
No way.
It's a coronavirus special.
That is.
I'm
telling you, man.
Yeah, I'm taking advantage of it.
Huh. Interesting. I'd like to go to Hawaii for $250.
Yeah, I know, right? Just get a cheap place to stay.
Cheap place to stay. Here we go with you again.
Well, some stuff is starting to actually...
Everyone look out. Okay, you might want to block Margaret for like a week because she's going to post like, who do I know? Who do I need to know in Hawaii?
Actually, there are places, though, in Hawaii that are shutting down because of this, too. So you might go there and just have to make your own drinks, which wouldn't be so bad. But because they're an island, so they're...
Are they an island?
Apparently.
What is your point that they're an island?
Well, oftentimes when diseases come to islands, it's, especially a smaller island like Kauai or something, that it's, it spreads real quick.
Really? Tell me more, Dr. Smith. I don't think anyone's outrunning the coronavirus. Be it on an island or not.
Hey, I'm just saying.
What are we going to do? Are we going to jam the highways next?
I think we should
Can you imagine all these people with just their cars are full of toilet paper and they're just loading up the freeways.
God.
Like a scene from Independence Day or something.
Yeah. Keep in mind, I'm not trying to mock any of the people that have passed away from this, but the people that have passed away or have died from coronavirus have compromised immune systems. Like what would happen if they got pneumonia? So just had to say that.
Thanks for looking out for the recently departed. Mm-hmm. Well, we're not here to talk about coronavirus.
Thank God.
Had to get that out of our system, though.
Yeah.
It has been bizarre.
We have to talk about the stuff that's happening, and it's coronavirus 101 here.
COVID-19.
Thank you.
It's so funny when one day they just decided to start calling it COVID-19.
Why do they think that's like better than Corona?
I think because there was legit confusion about this Corona thing.
Holy shit.
Which is so stupid. But it's like,
that makes a lot of sense then why they're doing that.
But it does make sense.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a dumb name.
COVID-19. On the day
coronavirus is a dumb name because it doesn't.
It is, yeah. When I got into work on Monday, we had an email from the office, from the market center, cautioning people to not bring their kids in for the next couple weeks. And then also an email from a local town car service. And so that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is hitting at the local level. So, yeah, it's interesting.
What we are here to talk about today is leverage.
Yes, sir.
And, we just, every once in a while when we are getting ready for a podcast, we're like, what do we do well? Like, what do we have down? What do we have mastered that we can talk about at a high level? And leverage is what I thought of. I think we both do it pretty well. Mm-hmm. You've gotten masterful in leverage.
Thank you.
I started the whole thing.
Well, it's funny how it leaks over from your professional life to your personal life too, and you start to learn what's your value, what are you worth, and it really helps. And as an admin, I love talking about it because I think a lot of admin don't think that they have the ability to use leverage, and yeah, you actually do. You just got to actually think you're worth it, and then put it in place and demand it for yourself.
Well, leverage is really someone just prioritizing time. Really, that's it.
That's true.
It's really understanding that your time is your most valuable asset. And there's a point, I mean, as you build your business, as you build from like being self-employed, meaning it's just you doing all the work, to being an entrepreneur and a business owner where you hire people, you learn how much your time is worth. And that number should grow year after year, exponentially, hopefully. And then you realize that you paying someone else to do something makes more sense than you doing a task.
Like me cleaning my house. I love talking about cleaners as leverage because it's one of the ways that admin particularly can start to kind of experience it. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to hire people to clean their home. But let me tell you, it gives me so much peace of mind. And my time, when broken down, is much better used with my family outside of work, or working on stuff that I want to work on outside of work, like my retreat, things like that. And the first time I did it, I can remember coming back in to you the next day and saying, I feel like I just went on a mini vacation because I went home and my house was clean and I didn't do it. So it's just one example of how what you've taught me has leaked over into my personal life. I never would have paid for cleaners before this. I never would have thought it was worth it.
Yeah, well, I don't own a lawnmower, and that's purposeful.
Yeah.
Like, I've suffered, my masculinity has suffered a little bit being a Montana kid and then not owning.
Well, yeah, growing up doing
tools
physical
and stuff.
labor.
But I'm not a contractor, and I shouldn't pretend that I am one. And
you don't need to. Do you like mowing the lawn?
No, I mean, generally, because it takes me away from doing things I want to do. Mostly hanging out with my kids, doing, I like teaching my kids the value of hard work. And so I'm not against them seeing me mow the lawn, or I'm not against them mowing the lawn. I'm not against me mandating they mow the lawn. But I also want to teach them about leverage so that they don't feel like they have to do certain tasks to be a man or do certain tasks to be a good husband, or, I think there's definitely, one of the harder aspects of leverage is probably comes from our youth, in that we're kind of taught, if you start something, finish it.
Yeah.
And don't be lazy.
Don't be entitled. Don't be.
Yeah, maintain stuff. So I feel like we have to overcome like this social contract, that's this unspoken
I
social
would agree.
contract.
Yeah.
That there's things we have to do.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely. I think I struggled with it primarily, and still now I'm still working my way out of it. But in my head, I think it's probably because of how I was raised, and maybe it's being a girl too. I don't know. I don't want to ever feel entitled to anything, and I don't ever want to feel like I'm better than other people. I don't want to think I'm better. Like it's a hard mix for me to stay. I want to be humble. I want to be. So I feel like I've struggled with you, like with owning my role, is that, like ultimately I'm an employee, right? So I'm always wanting to recognize and respect that you were the owner, and I see that. And so it's this weird dichotomy of like power versus, understanding that it's okay for me to want something for myself that gives me time back and gives me, like does something kind for me, I guess. And it doesn't mean I'm entitled. It doesn't mean I'm,
yeah.
And I think, so I've struggled with that. And I know other admin that are ultimately like, I know one girl right now who's working 3 jobs. And so I'm talking to her about, how is this doing anything for your family when you're working throughout the week from 7:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, and then on the weekends from 7 to 3? What's that doing for you?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, Jill just updated her work calendar, and she's working a lot more than usual. And I'm like, I don't want you to work more. I want you
because of the coronavirus.
home.
Yeah.
No, she has goals and she has ambitions and things she wants to do, and so she's working a little bit extra. But when we've had this conversation, and the whole idea was, she's working less than when we first met, because I'd rather have her home when the kids get home from school, and she'd rather be there too. And so she doesn't need to work an extra shift for us to maintain our family life, right? And so I had to teach her about leverage in that sense of being like, hey, you can let go of your obligation to work. You can let go of your obligation for certain tasks. Like, let's reimagine what we want your life to look like. And let's reimagine what you want your work to look like. And without continued refinement, either in life or in our professional career, how does life get better? How does anything get better? And so I feel like too often people settle for the status quo, or they settle on their job description and they don't ever play around with it.
Amen. Yes.
And so, like, I get jazzed about finding new ways to incorporate leverage into my life. And so, at the peak of our production, all I did was listing appointments. That's it. I didn't put them on the market. I didn't negotiate contracts. I didn't do the customer service part. I just went in there, closed the deal, and then went on to the next one. And man, I felt extremely efficient because I literally only had to do like that one thing. And it's so freeing, and so I gave me confidence because I'd built the business to a point where I could do this. And I created a role that we had never seen before, which is this listing coordinator role, where it was a licensed agent who didn't have to close, like per se, on sales. They'd have to be a good negotiator. They'd have to provide good customer service, but that's all they had to do.
That was their focus.
And we've talked about ad nauseum that's my favorite position.
Besides me, of course.
Besides you. But that position's my favorite because it's creatively.
It's ultimate leverage for you.
It's a form of leverage that's so creative.
Well, and I addressed this in one of the little mini moment episodes where I got a question from someone who said, Mo, how do you do what you do? Do you have a body double? And it was a great opportunity for me to talk about, like what you just said. It's there's a quote out there, too, that says, you're not paying me for the hour of time that I spend with you. You're paying me for the 10 years of experience I'm bringing to that hour. And so I don't have as much leverage in people as other people do, like as owners might have with their team or whomever. But what I have leverage with is my experience, my systems, and my processes. So I'm able to do a lot more than maybe 3 admin could do because I think in such a way that I can prep the environment and the processes and the systems that I use in order to like triple my work. Like that's how I've built the retreat. That's how I've been able to do this podcast. That's how I've done other things, is because I can prioritize my time effectively. And I've created systems and processes that are like team members around me. So once I put one process into place and I start it, it takes care of itself. And so then while that's happening, I'm over to the other side doing something else, if that makes sense visually. But that's kind of how I operate. And I'm realizing now what an asset that is to myself and to other people. If I can teach other people to do that, that's a form of leverage for me. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this topic, and I was, it can be easy for me to get down and depressed and to get like a little fatalistic in my viewpoint. But the one thing that I always kind of like hang on to is leverage. Like when things are lean, I don't want to let people go because I don't want their job back. Right. And so even now, we have an ISA, which I love because I'm leveraging lead generation, and I'm not giving up my lead generation. I'm just plussing up my lead generation.
So we're now have capability to reach out to leads we haven't in a long time.
And so sometimes leverage it's not. I think some people think they have to give up that whole thing.
Yeah,
they don't have to give up the whole thing.
No,
but you can have more people doing the same activity and generating a greater result.
Yeah,
and so what I love about our business is every day I have me and Jessica and Daniel and Amanda all making phone calls. We're all lead generating. So I have 4 people every morning lead generating. And that's way better than me doing it by myself.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I never want to let that go because I always want more and more people lead generating.
Always, yeah.
We're probably hiring someone in the next week. Why? To plus up lead generation and to plus up leverage and to give Jessica leverage in her role. And we teach leverage like hardcore. Jessica is no different than any other buyer's agent we've ever had who essentially questions the showing agent model because they like the paycheck. And there's something about when you go from like living paycheck to paycheck to having a goal and reaching it, where you still have that memory of what it was like to not have money or to be stressed or to live paycheck to paycheck, and to where you're like, I can still do this. I got this. I want to keep going. But at some point you have to be able to go, I can let go of this and pay someone to do this activity now so that I can grow even more. Yeah. Then the truth is people, if you're doing really well as a single agent, there's a ceiling to the amount of
for sure
to your activities.
Yeah. Well, I was just telling you, you've had a conversation in the last couple of weeks with a couple agents, and I've had one recently too, where an agent was telling me that they're still designing their flyers.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I said, I would, if I were working with you.
And they said it as a matter of pride.
Yes.
Like, I care about marketing, and so.
As do you.
Because I care about it so much, I design my own flyers.
And I looked at him and I said, 10,000 times over, if I were working with you, you would be out on a listing appointment. You would not be designing flyers because that's not growing your business. And I love that you care about it and you're passionate about it. But what if I care about it just as much as you?
It's so funny. I see agents that think they're superstitious. And this guy's superstitious. He thinks his flyers is what makes the deal.
Yeah.
He's like, I put this green border on the photos, makes it really pop. Like, I know these people. I worked in advertising before I was a real estate agent. Yeah. And when I worked in advertising, everyone had this, like, secret sauce they thought worked. And one of them right now that's driving me nuts is in Snohomish. We have a few agents that love to, like, all caps some words. And then they use the, like, brackets, the swirly brackets.
On the flyers?
In the marketing remarks of the property. So they'll do a fancy scrolly divider, and they'll say true gem in all caps, and then the squirrely divider, and then they'll have normal prose, and then they'll have a word in all caps, but they'll have it like 10 words in the whole thing. And so it's like a roller coaster ride with your eyeballs. It's like, and I'm like, what is happening here? I'm trying to read it about this property.
That's why I'm super grateful that I loved to read so much. I'm realizing how important it was for me to have a really good basic grasp of the English language, grammar, not only because of you, because of how much
Harlequin
romance novels, not just because of you and what you, because you are a very specific and very. You catch all the mistakes. And so thank God I think the same way. And because otherwise I may not have survived as your admin. But also I'm realizing what an asset it is in real estate.
Are you trying to say I'm the most fun person ever?
But there are so many agents, mistakes. Like you said, that don't have proper grammar and vocabulary. And their marketing remarks look like a circus show. It looks insane. So it's just not professional. It's not professional at all.
Well, the point is that if you're hanging on to something because you think it's your secret sauce,
just FYI,
then maybe look at it more closely and say, hey, one of the questions that was posed to me by a coach that I've always loved is like, do you really believe no one can do this better than you? Because that's erroneous. That's false. There's absolutely someone that can do this better than you.
Yeah.
And the key is to find that person and hire them, right? Not to let them be your competition, but to have them join your team. And so you can't tell me, as if you're an agent and you're involved in sales, that you designing a flyer is the best use of your time. God. And it's going to contribute to your business in this great way.
It literally makes me cringe.
Yeah. So don't hang on to... what should we call that? Like, don't hang on to false
I want to say like false superheroism or something.
It's like a mythology.
Yeah.
A business myth.
Yeah.
That you have to do it in
That
order for it to work. I used to stay up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, putting a listing on because I wanted to be right.
Yeah.
That exact. And I realized in time I could either be right or divorced. Well, that came anyway. But you know what I mean? Like I can't stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning all the time and not expect my
other things to
relationship
suffer.
to suffer.
Yeah.
So I stayed up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and that listing was right. It was correct.
Sure.
Is exact. But there's a reason why I was up that late because it takes me longer. It's not a natural it's not a natural for me to find mistakes. I just care about it enough that I do it. But for someone where it glows like radiation, I'd rather have them look at it than me where I have to literally be so careful.
Yeah.
And we run into this all the time with coaching where people they want to grow a team, but they don't want to embrace leverage.
And it goes for admin as well as owners. There are plenty of admin I know that are hanging on to things that they shouldn't be hanging on to. They're not handing it off to either other admin that they work with, or they're not handing off to vendors or what have you. Yeah.
So we always say the first form of leverage for an agent should be a third-party transaction coordinator. As you think and plan for leverage, build a foundation first. And so what we mean by that is don't always just go for the pain point. For instance, if you have a lot of buyers, you might think that what you should do for leverage is hire a showing agent. So you can work with more buyers. Well, if you do that, the problem that happens is you pour diesel on your business in a good way, and it blows up, and you're busy, but you don't have the support to back those sales, and the client experience suffers. So we've talked about this before, and I'll keep talking about it until I'm in the grave, but your first form of leverage should be an assistant. And you're not going to like me saying that because assistant costs money, costs your commission, costs dollars, and it's guaranteed dollars that you're not guaranteed. But they're there to do the things you're not as good at and the things you don't want to do. But they're absolutely important things. Yeah. They're things that support the sales of your business. Yeah. And if you just throw a bunch of sales in there without the support, your client experience is going to be terrible, and you're not going to organically grow your business. Instead, leverage support first, build the foundation, get the processes and systems in place, then add sales leverage. And you should always be kind of aware of how that support leverage is supporting sales. Because you don't just to add one person and then add 20 salespeople, right? You and I, we had a huge headbutt session after you came on, pretty quickly, really, because you were my first good assistant, and you were overworked, and I was like, well, I have an assistant, and you're new, this should work. And you're like, this is too much for one person. And I reached out to Mindy Hagar, who is Gary Keller's assistant, and just asked for her to talk to you, because I'm like, can you please talk to her? Because she doesn't get it from me, right? And then she talks to you, and then she gets me on the phone. She's like, yeah, Jesse, you need to hire 2 assistants. You need the second assistant. And I'm like, no, this is not what you were supposed to talk to her about.
And it wasn't anything. Whenever I tell that story, I always tell people, it's not like you didn't know what you didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was literally looking at my workload thinking to myself, maybe I've misjudged myself. Maybe what I thought I had as high capacity is actually not high capacity. But then getting perspective, getting someone from the outside like Mindy, who's seen teams grow, who's seen what a typical admin can handle, that's when she said, you probably should have hired someone 9 months ago. But we didn't know that, so we had to stumble through that together. And thankfully, we both persevered. So that's when I started looking for Sarah. And it was still another 9 months after that until I hired her.
You were so afraid. You were like...
I was afraid, yeah. But you know what, though? I saw the opportunity and I saw the long-term plan. And so that's why I decided to stick it out. So, yeah, it was worth it.
So anyway, build with your foundation first when it comes to leverage. And then get creative.
Yeah, play after that.
Yeah. Don't get creative in the beginning.
Please don't. Yeah.
Put the foundation, the key players in place.
Do the boring stuff first.
Yes, do the boring stuff. And then eventually you can be creative. And you might have someone do something that makes no sense to anybody else, but it makes your life easier, period. For instance, I get stressed out over personal bills and personal keeping track of that stuff. And so at some point, I met with you and I said, I need you to fix my life. Like, I need you to make this stuff go away. And that's just bringing you in to like an advisory role in my life and streamlining it so that I don't have to think about it anymore.
And just so you guys know, all that meant was putting his bills on auto pay.
Oh, please.
Seriously. And then as far as like, I mean, I help you with your taxes, but it's really basic. It's like gathering the paperwork. But for you,
for me.
It takes a load off of your mind. And for what seems like, not that much to some people, it's like lifting 50 pounds off your shoulders to him. And so it's just a really basic way that I think people don't realize can really help. It's like what they talk about with visual clutter can actually feel like mental clutter. And so when you take things and you systematize them and process them, I don't think people realize how wonderful it actually is. And they don't understand the value behind a person doing that for you until you experience it. And then when you feel that process and system take place in your life and you realize how much it frees you up mentally, then you realize okay, it makes sense now how much creative space that frees up in your mind to be in the business, thinking about the business. You don't have to think about the clutter. You don't have to think about, the bullshit that can clutter up your head. There's I don't think people realize how much physical clutter actually adds to mental clutter. That's how I think of it anyways when I'm thinking about processes and systems.
And one of my favorite things that you do for me is in the morning when you get here, you go to my desk and you clean it up a little bit. And it's not like you...
It's very basic, yes.
It's very basic. Yes. You just put things in piles off to the side so that when I get there, I don't feel like I have this cluttered mess to figure out first. I can just sit down and go to work. And then I can figure out the mess later. Like, I'll probably do it today, honestly. You know how I am. I'll be like, I need these folders near me. And then at some point I go, okay, I have too many. I need to organize and get... And then it's a good way for me to follow up with people, too. Yeah. Because I have these folders.
Forces you to look through them.
Right? That these are all people that should be doing something the next year. Yeah. But maybe not right now. But it forces me to reach out to them and see where they're at.
That's why when people walk into my house, when I started taking better care of myself in terms of leveraging and self-care, I've always been a really organized person, but I didn't always spend the same time on myself as I did on the business I was working on, whether it was Pickett Street or whatever job I had before. So now you walk into my house and you specifically walk into this house that I, modeled myself or remodeled myself. And it's so peaceful. People walk in and they're like, God, I just feel so good. And it's because visually, it's like there's not stuff everywhere. I keep it very visually clean because that's what keeps me calm. And so I get that feeling, which I think helps me understand what helps you. So just coming in and opening up your door and moving a few things around takes 5 minutes of my time. And I know it makes you, helps you have a great start to the day. Pretty basic. Yeah. I love leverage.
Not as much as I do.
No.
I think one form of leverage that I do like, but that I am realizing has hurt me a little bit, is letting you guys be the face of Pickett Street. Like, I'm more introverted than I let on. Or I've become more introverted. And so I've kind of welcomed the team being the face of Pickett Street. And I think part of that was necessary, but I've probably abdicated too much of that. And that's one thing that is a discussion in leverage too, which is I'm going to try to remember the words. Abdication versus, do you remember what our coach used to say? Don't abdicate, meaning don't just go here's
Sure.
this, do it. But really like training someone.
I can't remember the other word that he uses.
I can't remember either. And that's what I'm realizing is that I can leverage this, but I can't be exempt from it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I can leverage, and you guys can help me and be social and network and reach out, but it doesn't mean I can be exempt from that process.
Makes sense.
Sometimes I sometimes want to be, but I'm trying to say yes to more things.
You are.
Discussion came up about me officiating Jessica's wedding and Jillian's disbelief that I was actually doing it. And I'm like, listen, trying to say yes to more things. Would I usually say yes? Never in a million years. But
it's very sweet. Yeah. It's cute.
Well, I'm just going to encourage our audience to take 10 minutes and think about leverage in your life. Think about it personally and think about it professionally. Personally, what can you give up that'll give you freedom in your mind, space in your head, that'll release tension from your shoulders? Could it be laundry? Could it be mowing the lawn? Could it be cleaning the house?
Yeah.
Could it just be cleaning the bathrooms and the kitchen? Like
all those things. Food prep.
Could be, food prep. There could be a lot of different things. It might be a stylist to help you pick out outfits and your wardrobe, if that's
because those little
problem for
decisions
you.
every single day. I mean, Gary Keller talks about that, how he wears his black V-neck shirt and the same outfit every day and I identify with that. There are mornings when I get up and the energy it takes me to pick something out is ridiculous. And to eliminate those little decisions. And then the other thing I was thinking as you were talking was, if you have a paid job, if you're someone who's a regular employee or owner or whatever, if you break down your time, this is an activity you can do, break down your time to what you're worth hourly, that will help you identify what you can leverage. So let's say your hourly rate is $40 an hour. That's what you get paid. Anything that would pay you less, like if you can find someone to clean your house for, let's say, $25 an hour, then do it. It's a great way to identify what you can leverage away. Yeah.
And then professionally, look at where you can add leverage to your life. Look at support first, and then look at sales. If you have enough support, enough leverage there, then look for leveraging sales. But just really look for a way to magnify your time doing what you want to do and giving away the tasks you don't want to do. And just play with that. I promise you, your life will improve. Your business will improve. When you have multiple people focus on one thing, their task. Like the thing is, Margaret, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. And sometimes I try not to talk to you about things like this because I don't want you to see the manic swings that I go through being a business owner. But I mean, it's been a tough week for lots of different reasons. And even in the last 24 hours, it's been tough with like people saying they're going to write offers and they're not writing offers or whatever the case is. And when I get down or, get in a bad attitude, I always come back to this and I go, I have Amanda making calls for me. I have Jessica working the buyer side of my business. I have Daniel working on the investor side of my business. I have Daniel going to Spokane to write a deal up for a client. I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I have Jessica driving down and serving a South End client. I didn't have to do that. I have Amanda setting 2 listing appointments for me yesterday that I didn't have to do.
Yeah.
Christina's putting a listing presentation together that I didn't have to do. And you are putting my taxes together so that I can submit them in a timely manner. And I'm not distracted from what I have to do. And what I have to do should be the highest dollar earning job in the business. And so that's why I need to be free to do it. And thankfully, you don't have to tell me to put the shovel down very often, right? Like, you don't have to tell me, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. So I do feel good about that. That I don't do things I shouldn't do necessarily. But I do love leverage, and I love it. It has a soothing effect on me in a way that says, "Hey, even if things aren't where I want them to be right now, I have these people in place, and if I can sustain them and pour into them and coach them and train them, they're gonna grow our business.
Totally.
It's not just me.
Yeah.
I don't have to just put everybody on my back and take us up the mountain because it's not possible. We need to do this together. You all right?
No, I'm just thinking. My mind's gone off, and I'm thinking about. I was thinking. I hope you see me as like. I'm not gonna think of the right animal. Like a donkey hauling.
Oh my gosh! I'm
things
so happy you just
up
said that.
the side of a mountain next to you, rather than you. I hope you never feel like you have to carry me. I don't think you do. I think you feel like I haul.
No,
like,
for sure.
yeah, that's the only visual I can think of.
Oh, that's what you're worried about. You're like, I'm my own donkey. That's it. I'm my own donkey. Don't you say that I'm on you like I'm riding you like a donkey because I'm my own donkey.
Well, and I think now at this point in the business too, I can bring more to the table than I used to, of course, back in the day. But that's taken 7 years. So, anyhow, yes, I'm a donkey. I'm my own donkey. Or a camel.
Be your own donkey. I should totally make that my talk.
God.
Be your own donkey. Don't just be you. Be your
donkey.
own donkey.
Oh, good God. Yeah.
Do you know what the difference between a donkey and a mule is?
I wish I did right now.
You don't know the difference?
I'm pretty sure
between
I
a
don't.
donkey and a mule?
Not right off the back, no. Bad.
Back? Wow, is this where you do your best thinking is on your back? Is that what you're trying to say?
What's the difference?
You don't know?
Does one store more water than the other or something?
Water?
What's a camel?
They're not camels. Donkeys are their own species
Okay.
of animal.
Okay.
Related to, but, the horse, but not a horse, right?
Okay.
So, a horse can mate with the donkey, and that baby is called a mule.
Okay.
It's half horse, half donkey. But they are hybrids. They can't reproduce.
Okay.
So mules they're bigger, and they look more like horses, but
Okay.
they have the ears, like longer ears and a bad attitude. And they're great workhorses because they're bigger. They can haul more than a donkey.
I see. Okay.
And they're a little,
So I'm more of a mule?
yes, that's the whole point of this. I'm glad you listened. I don't know. I was just trying to educate you on
Thank you. I
donkeys
appreciate
and
it. That's
mules.
awesome. Oh, my God.
All right. We've lost Margaret for today, everybody. I don't know what happened. Was it the text message? Or what happened there?
No.
Oh, something happened.
No. That was just Jaggles checking in.
Okay. Well, Margaret's on a spiritual journey right now. I don't know what just happened. But we're going to let her wander into the ethos. Best of luck, Margaret. I hope you find what you're looking for.
I appreciate it.
For everyone else, we'll see you next week.